look here, got geesey friends. Okay, y'all. This evening finds me back at Park Hill Cemetery, where we've been many times. But you look at these graves, all these graves all out through there. Every one of these graves has a story. And I wish that I knew them all, but I don't. But I do have one that I do know that I'm going to tell you today. And this is true crime. And I'm not really well, let's be honest, I'm a true crime fan. I watch ID, investigation, discovery, and things like that. I love a mystery. And I watch them until I have to quit watching them, because I've gotten a little, I get a little depressed and a little down when I dwell too much on the wickedness and the evilness in this world. But we're going to go up here and tell the story today of the Curry family. And I found this, you know, this cemetery is where a lot of Tim's family's buried. And this cemetery is also where Mr. Gordy is buried, and he was the ghost from the A Connecticut Haunting Part 2. Haunting in Georgia. 3, 4, and I'm counting because I know exactly where this is at by the number. I hear those geese down there though. 6, 7, but I want to go up here and look at the apostle first. My graves are right under, I think it's the apostle, I think it's Luke. And I want to go up here and see Luke first. And then we'll backtrack and go back down to where the graves are at. The story, it happened in 1985. It was a mother, she was pregnant. And her other 2 children, she had a 4-year-old and a 20-month-old. A 4-year-old daughter and a 20-month-old little boy. And she was pregnant with her 3rd child, which would also be a little boy. Y'all, this is a hill I'm climbing. And it ain't an easy hill to climb. I'm gonna sound like Tim breathing in just a minute. Look, let me see if I can zoom in. That apostle's got a bird on his head. I don't know which one that is, but he's got a bird on his head. Anyway, this particular garden, this particular part of the cemetery, the 4 apostles, there's four gospels. 4 apostles that wrote the 4 gospels. And I think this one over here that's looking over the Curry family is the apostle Luke. Yeah, St. Luke, the beloved physician. So Luke looks down over this Curry family. And now I'm gonna walk down and find it myself, because looking for the 3 graves. So this is true crime, and the thing about it is that there are still people alive who are, you know, part of this. These 3 people. There's no good, there's absolutely nothing good came out of any of it. Because the person who committed the crime, nothing good came from that. The family, well, the family on both sides, the mother and the father of the woman, the wife who was murdered, and the children, they lost the wife, they lost their daughter, and they lost their grandchildren. And then the family of the person who murdered them, who allegedly murdered them, who went to prison for it, his family also Nobody wins. Nobody has won. There's no winners in this. Everybody loses. And you can't help but wonder why. Why do things like this happen? Yeah, here we go. Okay. All right, so here we're standing right above. This is Ann Johnson Curry. And they put the baby boy's name on there too. Tyler Andrew Curry. This event occurred August 29th, 1985. And this is Erica Renee Curry. She's the 4-year-old little girl. And this is Ryan Allen Curry. And he was 18 or 20 months old. So this is the Curry family. And these three were murdered in 1985. And so the story goes, they came home, they had been to Ann Curry's parents' house and they had been there visiting. And then when they came home, nobody actually knows what happened, but they came home about 12:30 that day. And then the daddy came home, Michael Curry. He came home at 5:30. I think he came home at 5:30. And when he went in, he found his family killed. They were all murdered, and they were killed with a small bush axe. Well, first he went running down the street screaming to his neighbors that somebody had killed his family. He called the police. The police came. They said this was, at that time in 1985, this was the first time they had ever been in a murder investigation where there were 3 people that had been murdered all at the same time. They took the daddy in for questioning that night. They questioned him and they released him. And nothing changed. Nobody was arrested. They didn't have any. They had some they suspected different people. Nothing panned out. Nothing worked out. They didn't know what happened. Nobody knew what happened. So it became what we call a cold case. 24 years later, Columbus got a new district attorney. And when they got a new district attorney, she decided to pull out some of the old cold cases, and this is one of the ones she pulled out. And there was new evidence came forward against the father, Michael Curry. And he was 24 years, this was 24 years later. He was arrested and he was found guilty. And it came out during the trial that he was having an affair. It also came out in the trial that when he would go to the bar with his buddies after work at night, that he had at that particular time in his life been complaining about being a husband and father and how he couldn't afford to get a divorce because if he got a divorce it would cost him too much in child support. So he said he didn't really have very many options, he just had to stay married. But he was having an affair on the side, and then later in his life he was engaged to a woman. She also came forward and testified. He was engaged to a woman who said that she thought everything was fine until one day he got mad at her and he held her down and held a staple gun to her head and told her that he was going to kill her. He is in prison currently. He's serving. He was found guilty on all counts, and he was found guilty. Each one of them, there was aggravated assault. There was, of course, murder. And when the police were investigating the house, one of the things they found interesting was that the glass on the back door was broken, but it looked as if somebody had broken it from the inside rather than the outside. And the lock, amazingly, was still locked, even though the glass was broken where they could reach in and turn the deadbolt. Nobody had turned the deadbolt. So this is another one of those cases where nobody's a winner. The man's in jail. The family's gone. The parents of the mother have lost a daughter and 3 grandchildren. The family of the man in jail also lost 3 grandchildren. And there's no, nothing good comes out of it for them either. So this is a sad, sad story, and I've been putting off telling it. I've come up here and looked at these graves several times, but I've put off telling it because it's so sad. But that's the story of the Curry family. Happened in 1985. If the daddy was guilty, he was free for 24 years before he was put away. I did read, though, that one of the police officers who was put on, one of the police officers who was there, he was a detective when this first happened, and he was on that case when it first happened. And when they actually went to arrest and started the case over, the DA gave that case back to him, so he got to see it through to its end. And this is just one of the many stories here at Park Hill Cemetery. So that's the story of the Curry family. I'll be back again with another story. Another day, another time.